Assalamualaikum and a very good morning to all the physicians, nurses and staff of Family Love Hospital. My name is Syakirah binti Karim, the Assistant HR Manager of Family Love Hospital. Some of you might have seen me in the hospital pathway, but I usually will be in the HR department. So, here I am today. I would like to share with you about the importance of good communication in our hospital. For your information, miscommunication can lead to medical errors. These errors have the potential to cause severe injury or unexpected patient death. Medical errors, especially those caused by a failure to communicate, are a common problem in today's healthcare organizations. When you are not communicating effectively, patient safety is at risk for several reasons such as lack of critical information, misinterpretation of information, unclear orders over the telephone, and overlooked changes in status. So, we want to avoid this problem from happening. These are the barriers to effective communication. First, time constraints. Lack of time creates a significant barrier to communication for you. Hurried communication is never as effective as leisurely interaction. Yet, you will face many patients to attend that you may neglect the quality of communication. It is important to remember that communication does not need to be time-consuming. You can just give a smile, or say hello, or even some small talk about the weather maybe. So, even when there is no pressing news to tell the patients, taking time to get to know them can prepare the ground for difficult conversations that may need to take place in the future. For example, in a pressured ward, conversations between patients and you may be delayed or interrupted because of the needs of other patients, such as you may need to respond to an emergency or pain relief from another patient. This can be frustrating for patients who may feel neglected. If interruption occurs, it is important for you to explain to patients that you must leave and why. Inform the patient that you will come back to them again. Environmental factors. You might be so familiar with your surroundings that you no longer notice the environmental factors that can create communication difficulties. Background noise in a busy hospital can affect patients' ability to hear, and some may try to disguise this by nodding to what you are saying. If you think your patient has hearing problems, you should reduce the background noise. For example, find a quiet corner at the side room or office. Check whether your patient uses physical aids such as hearing aids or spectacles. Noise and other distractions can interrupt communication with patients having dementia and other cognitive impairments, who will find concentration challenging. If you must communicate an important message to a patient with a poor concentration, it is useful to plan ahead and identify the best place and time to talk. Patients may be secretive to provide sensitive personal information if they are asked about your clinical history within earshot of other people, such as at a busy reception desk or in a cubicle with just a curtain for privacy. For our hospital, in the physiotherapy department, patients treated side by side only separated with curtains, so you need to ask patients' permission first to talk about sensitive information about themselves. It is important to avoid asking sensitive questions where others may hear the patient's replies. Consider alternative ways of gathering relevant information, such as asking the patient to complete a written form. But you need to remember that some patients struggle with reading and writing, or maybe need the form to be provided in a different language, or someone to translate for them, especially if the patient is a foreigner, such as Pakistani labor. They will need someone to translate in their language for easy guidance on medicine and what to do for their condition. Pain and fatigue. We often need to gain important information from patients when they are acutely ill and distressed. Symptoms such as pain can reduce concentration of patients. If you urgently need to gather information, it is important to acknowledge pain and discomfort by saying to the patient, "I know that it is painful, but we need to know what condition you are in right now." Patients may also be tired from sleepless night, drowsy after an anesthetic, or experience the side effects of medicines. Communicating with someone who is not fully alert is difficult, so it is important to prioritize the information you need. Assess whether it is necessary to speak to the patient and ask yourself, is this the best time for this conversation? Because sometimes patients need their guidance to make sure the info is well received in patient state. Can my message wait? If your patient is in painful condition, you should let them relieve the pain first and relay your message afterwards. Can I give part of the message now and the rest later? This situation can happen if the patient already had too many information at once, so they will need some time to process it. When patients cannot give their full attention, consider whether your message could be broken down into smaller pieces so there is less to digest in one go. For example, saying, "I will explain your medication now and tell you about how physiotherapy may help afterwards." Ask if they would like any of the information repeated. You may consider repeating the message again, or you can ask the patient to repeat it back to you to check whether they understood it or not. Embarrassment and anxiety. You will feel uncomfortable undressing in front of a complete stranger, don't you? Or talking about difficult family circumstances, addictions, or bowel problems. These embarrassments can result in awkward situations. However, we can minimize it by using straightforward, open communication can ease difficult conversations. For example, a patient may need to remove some clothes for an X-ray examination. It is important to be direct and specific. Do not say, "Please undress," as patients may not know what to remove. Give specific instructions such as, "Please remove all accessories and change into the clothes provided in that room." Clear directions can ease stress and embarrassment. Patients may worry about embarrassing you or themselves by using inappropriate terms for anatomical parts or bodily functions. You can use words like bowel movements instead of stool. Ambiguous terms such as stool, which have a variety of everyday meanings, should be avoided as they may cause confusion to patients. Many patients worry about undergoing intimate procedures such as bowel and bladder investigations. Explain all the procedures involved so that patients know what to expect. Explaining any side effects of procedures such as flatulence or vomiting, you should not only warn patients what to expect but reassure them that staff will not be offended if this occurs, so they will feel much better. Some patients are reluctant to ask questions, seek clarification, or request that information to be repeated because they are fear of wasting your time. It is important to let them know that it is part of your job to answer all their questions, and there is no such thing as silly questions. Encourage questions by using prompts and open questions such as, "Are there any that I can answer for you now?" Or, "What else can I tell you about the operation?" Jargon are medical terms used to accurately describe the condition of the patient and treatment that they need to undergo. Without proper training and knowledge, the communication between healthcare workers may get confusing and the patient might not get the proper treatment at the end. Jargon can be an important communication aid among you, but it is important to avoid using medical jargon and clinical acronyms with your patients. Even though they may not understand, they will just nod and assume to understand. I know that sometimes you will easily slip into jargon without realizing it, so make a conscious effort to avoid it. If you have to use jargon, explain what it means to patient. Wherever possible, keep medical terms as simple as possible. For example, use kidney rather than renal and heart, not cardiac. Don't use complex sentence structures, slang, or speaking quickly with patients who are not fluent in English. Values, beliefs, and assumptions. Everyone makes assumptions based on their social or cultural beliefs. A patient might genuinely believe that female staff must be junior, or that a man cannot be a midwife. Be alert to patients' assumptions that could lead to misinterpretation. For example, explain yourself to patients by saying, "Hello, I am Syakirah, the nurse practitioner who will be examining you today." It is important to be aware of your own assumptions and reflect on whether they could affect your communication with patients. You might assume that a patient in a same-gender relationship will not have children, or that an Asian patient will not speak good English. Incorrect assumptions may cause offense. Information overload. We all struggle to absorb lots of facts in one go, and when we are bombarded with statistics, information, and options, it is easy for us to blank out. This is particularly so for patients who are upset, distressed, anxious, tired, in shock, or in pain. If you need to provide a lot of information, assess how the patient is feeling and stick to pertinent issues. You can highlight critical information by saying, "You need to pay attention to this information I'm about to say." These are the tips on avoiding information overload. Consider suggesting your patients to involve a relative or friend in complex conversations, because two pairs of ears are better than one. However, be aware that some patients may not wish others to know about their health. Suggest patients to take notes if they wish. With patients' consent, consider making a recording, or you just ask whether the patient wishes to record part of the consultation on their mobile phone so they can replay it later, or share it with her partner or his partner who could not accompany them. Give written information to supplement or reinforce the spoken word. You may arrange another meeting if necessary to go over the details again or to provide further confirmation. As you are aware of these potential barriers to communication, you should reflect on your skills and how the environment affects your ability to communicate effectively with your patients. You can use this video to improve and refine your communication with patients. I'm going to highlight again some of it. You need to be aware of the potential barriers to communication and adopt strategies to address them. Environmental factors such as background noise can affect patients' ability to hear and understand what is being said to them. Acute illness, distress, and pain can reduce patients' concentration and their ability to absorb new information. Anticipating potential embarrassment and taking steps to minimize it can facilitate difficult conversations. It is important to plan ahead and identify a better place and time to have important conversations. Good communication is important in this hospital as our profession involves life of patients. Whether the patient are survived and cured from illness or death might be the result. So, of course, death is something that we can't control, but illness can somehow be cured by your help. Based on feedback that I gained from patients, all of you did a very good job in handling your duty with good communication skills. I'm glad to hear that and keep it up.